I'm Bannie McPartlin, and this is my new novel, The Fearless Five, aimed at kids age range 8 to 12, and this is a little chapter from the book. I hope you enjoy. The day after the boxing match, all the boys were in our den when I got there, and Charlie. It really bothered me. She had no business being there. What's she doing here, I asked as rudely as I could. I didn't care. The den was ours, a girl-free zone. There used to be a sign up on the door that said no girls allowed, but it fell off in a storm and blew away. I really missed that sign. I invited her, Johnny J said, and he gave me that stern look that said, back off. So I did. I didn't need the distraction anyway. I had a plan to deliver. Everyone sat down and I stood in front of them. So I've been thinking, I started to say. Don't burst a blood vessel, Walker said, and the others laughed, even Charlie, the neck of her, laughing at me in our boys' only den. I flushed red, but I wasn't going to be discouraged, so I pushed on. We need to rob Roland's garage. Excuse me, Walker said. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. To be fair, when I said it out loud, it did sound mad. The Ireland-Egypt match is on the 17th. That's 3 days from now. Every man, woman and child in the country is going to be glued to the telly. That includes the coppers. I know that for a fact. Jim Rowland's granny is going to be looking after the garage that day so the Rowland men can go down the pub. They were all dumbfounded. I knew they were dumbfounded because all their mouths were wide open. A piece of spam fell out of Sumo's. You want to rob a granny? Walker said, pushing his glasses up his nose and looking around for somebody, anyone at all, to say something. No one spoke. I think they were all in shock. I'm pretty sure she'll sleep through it, I said with great confidence. Why? Charlie asked. Because that's what grannies do, I said. I mean, why are we robbing Rowlands? Johnny J cast his eyes to the floor. He couldn't look at anyone, even me. Because we can't hang around anymore. We need to get Johnny J's mum to America fast, I said, and Sumo, Walker and Charlie stared at Johnny J. He covered his ears with his hands and placed his face in his lap the way he used to do when we were kids and he didn't want to play anymore. Oh, Charlie said. Oh, Walker said. OK, Sumo said, we'll rob Rowland's. He shrugged as he said it. Walker looked outraged. What? Have you lost your minds? He shouted at Sumo. But Sumo just shook his head from side to side. It's Johnny J's mam, Walker. There has to be something else we can do, Walker said. Good, great, I'm all for that. And when you come up with a better idea, let us know. In the meantime, we are robbing Jim Rowland's granny, I shouted. I didn't mean to shout, it was all very stressful. Walker stood up and started to pace the floor over and back like a demented, caged animal. What are you doing? Charlie asked. I'm thinking, he growled. Then he coughed and he spluttered, and all of a sudden he couldn't catch his breath, so he pulled out an inhaler out of his pocket and sucked on it hard. Sit down, I said. He sat down and he put his head between his legs. Sumo raised his hand. Yes, Sumo. You said Jim Rowland's granny would probably be asleep. What if she's not asleep? He said. Good question, Sumo, I said, and he nodded happily. Do you remember when my mum went to New York? I asked. Do we what? You talked about it for 6 months. Look at my cool American sweatshirt. Look at my cool American jeans, Walker said between deep breaths. I ignored him. Well, she brought back some pepper spray. It's totally illegal, but she figured that Rachel might need it to protect herself from madmen when she went to nursing school. Pepper spray? The stuff that blinds people, Walker said, clearly alarmed. It only temporarily blinds people. It also causes difficulty breathing, runny nose and coughing. They were all staring at me like I was nuts. It only lasts about half an hour, I said, trying to redeem myself. You want to use pepper spray on a granny? Sumo said. No, of course not. We'll just threaten her with it. I don't know. That's not on. She could have a heart attack, Sumo said. She'll be grand, I said. She probably won't know what it is, Charlie said, and I wasn't sure if she was being helpful or not, so I just scowled at her. Maybe I could just put her in a headlock, Sumo offered. We all ignored him. That was a stupid idea. Johnny J took his hands away from his ears and he raised his head. How much do you think we'd get? Enough to get your mum to America, that's for sure, I said, and he nodded thoughtfully. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked, and I nodded. Then I'm in, he said. Walker's face fell and Sumo sighed deeply before tucking into a plate of Spam sandwiches his mum made earlier. Me too, Charlie said. I shouted, no way, yes way. Nobody asked you. Tell her, Johnny J. I mean, honestly, a girl robbing Rowland's with us, that was just ridiculous. I really appreciate it, Charlie, but Jeremy's right. You can't come, said Johnny J. I can and I will, she said, resting her hands on her hips to let us know she meant business. It's not happening, Johnny J said. I noticed the other two boys remained silent. Oh, it's happening, Charlie said, and if I'm not with you, I'm against you. What's that supposed to mean, I said, and I'll admit I was screeching a little. I'll tell. You would never, I said, but I knew she would. Girls are such telltales. You need me for this to work, and if you don't bring me, I will tell, because getting in trouble with your parents is better than you getting caught by the police. She was deadly serious and acting like she was doing us a favour. I was so enraged I had to fight with everything in me not to have a full-on meltdown. I balled my fists up and tried really hard to control my temper like my mum had told me. Count to 10, Jeremy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By the time I got to 7, I realised everyone was staring at me like I was nuts. What makes you think it won't work without you? I said through gritted teeth. Charlie stood up and turned her back on me and faced the other three. Because my brother worked there for 2 summers, I know every inch of the place, including where they keep the petty cash at the back. Ah, nuts. So, does the granny know you then? Walker asked. Good question. I wish I'd thought of that. I met her once or twice, but I wear my brother Lewis's helmet to disguise myself. Jeremy can do the talking. I'll just nip into the back and grab the cash, she said. She had it all worked out in seconds, like some kind of criminal genius. It was very disturbing. Okay, Johnny J said. Okay, what do you mean okay? I felt sick. Charlie jumped up and roared, yes, I'm in! And then she turned to the other 2 boys. And what about you 2? Sumo was still shaking his head from side to side. He was rocking back and forth a little too. Yeah, of course, but no, it's wrong. But for Johnny J, oh, I don't know. It's not legal. It's not right, he said. No, Sumo, robbing grannies and garages is not legal. But if it saves Mrs. Tulsi, it is right, I said. I'm a young scientist winner, Walker said, as though someone had just asked him to list his achievements to date. So what anyway, I said. It means I'm too smart to go to prison. No one's going to prison, I said. Robbers go to prison, Walker said. Fact. Only if they get caught, Johnny J said. And Walker sighed, a heavy sigh. Fine, I'll do it, but only if Sumo will too. I could tell Sumo was worried about God crying or something. Okay, he said. But I am not pepper spraying any grannies. Fair enough, I said. No one wants that.